Let us pray. Our Divine Father, as we conclude for this week our work in this assembly, we renew our thanks and ask that we may continue our work under your guidance. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions.
Speaker, I request the petition signed by 24,000 Albertans on pulp mills be read.
The undersigned requests legislation to delay all proposed pulp and other forestry developments in the province of Alberta until such time as 1. A class environmental assessment that reports the cumulative impact of all existing and proposed forestry developments has been completed, and 2. Full and complete environmental impact assessments equivalent to the Federal Environmental Assessment Review Process, SOR/84-467, including public hearings, have been completed for each proposed forestry development. Presenting reports by standing and special committees.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to present the report of the Special Committee of the Legislative Assembly appointed under Standing Order 49-1 to recommend to the Assembly the list of members, chairman, and deputy chairman to compose the select committees of the Assembly.
Notices of motions. Introduction of bills. Tabling returns and reports.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to table the following annual reports: Lethbridge Community College 1988-89, Mount Royal College 1987-88, University of Alberta 1988-89, University of Calgary 1988-89, and the West Terre Institute of Technology for the year 1988-89.
Minister of the Environment.
Speaker, I'm pleased to table with the legislature today the 1988-89 annual report of the Surface Reclamation Fund.
Solicitor General.
To table today the report for the Alberta Racing Commission for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 1989.
Introduction of special guests.
Thank you. Member for Calgary Foothills, please.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased today to introduce to you and through you to the members of the Assembly 40 members of the Girl Guides of Canada who are in Edmonton attending the Alberta Girls Parliament. This is the 19th session of the Alberta Girls Parliament, and we're very pleased that Kathy Ward this year will be the Premier, and she is a constituent of mine, and Susan Diozegi is the leader of the opposition. They are accompanied by guiding leaders June Martin, Marlene Lapierre, Daphne Yeski, Betty Buckner, and Bunny McMillan. They are seated in the members' gallery, and I would ask that they rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to introduce to my colleagues Rick and Marion Stamp and family. Rick is a member of the Bow River Irrigation Board, and the family is very active in my constituency, and I'd like to have them stand and be recognized at this time.
Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Mr. Speaker, to the Premier. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, we have learned that at least 3 more children have got lead poisoning as a result of the Occupational Health and Safety Department's negligence at the Alberta Recoveries and Rentals plant in Medicine Hat. Mr. Speaker, the Minister has responded by ordering an internal investigation into his department's involvement in this fiasco. Mr. Speaker, the minister has gone from pretending to have all the answers to now admitting that he doesn't have any of the answers. Mr. Speaker, the frightening part about this is that this could be just the tip of the iceberg. How many other potential time bombs are around the work sites in the province of Alberta, Mr. Speaker? But the point is, the key point here to the Premier is the government is asking the very people who have grossly mishandled this situation to now investigate. And my question to the Premier, given that this self-policing has great potential for turning this whole matter into a whitewash, will the Premier establish an independent inquiry into this whole matter?
Well, Mr. Speaker, first I think the Honourable Leader of the Opposition has raised an important issue, and the Minister of Occupational Health and Safety was in Medicine Hat meeting with workers yesterday and plant officials. His department and the Workers' Compensation Board are taking a very serious assessment of this matter. I think, Mr. Speaker, to refer to it as a fiasco is hardly the way to discuss something as serious as this and the health of workers. And also to accuse in advance that the minister or the government would be trying to whitewash something, I think is also unfair and not true. And we will do everything possible to make sure that the matter is handled with responsibly and in a strong and sure method as possible. The minister will be back and be able to respond to the leader, and he should wait for the minister to bring that additional information.
The point is, this has been going on for over a year, this lead poisoning, and this was raised with this department. We can't wait any longer. And this Premier is responsible. Look at the minister's record. He first called this issue just garbage. And when I asked questions in the legislature, he said that there was no problems to begin with. All of a sudden now, because people have come forward, he has to do something. But we do not trust him. We do not trust him in this matter, Mr. Premier, nor do the workers. And I say to you, you've got a minister out of control in this matter. And I want to ask the Premier, in view of his answer, what possible credibility is this secretive internal investigation going to have with the workers and the people of Alberta? Again, I ask him to make this a public inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, I just have to assure the honourable member that the minister will get all of the facts and present it to the legislature as he has promised and as I am promised.
Speaker, were you not here in question period? He said one thing and then had to come back with another. It's his credibility that's at stake here, Mr. Speaker. And my question, it's clear that this has been going on for a year. Would the Premier then, at least for the time being, do the right thing and remove this minister from this portfolio?
Now, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is hardly expressing concern anymore for the people of Alberta, and rather has tried to twist it into something of a political nature of his own making. And frankly, Mr. Speaker, I think his suggestion is absolutely ridiculous.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
Who's out there suffering from blood poisoning and the kids, Mr. Speaker? Well, it's clear. My question is to the Minister of Environment, Mr. Speaker. The other day, on March the 22nd, I asked him a question about, on page 22, about the budget expenditures of $110 per capita, Mr. Speaker, when their actual forecast is about $50 per capita per person. The minister seemed unaware of this gross discrepancy at the time, but I'm sure he's had time to have the spin doctors in his department try to give him a rational answer to this matter, Mr. Speaker. Again, this is another example of this government cooking the books to try to put the best possible light on it, Mr. Speaker. My question to the minister, could he finally explain why this misleading information was given to the people of Alberta in the 1990 budget address?
Well, Mr. Speaker, this issue of cooking the books and so on is an indication and a manifestation of typical socialist paranoia. But to answer the question, Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member would, the honourable Leader of the Opposition would look at page 22 of the budget address, he would see a chart that clearly shows that that expenditures on environmental enhancement and protection in the province of Alberta are about $119 per capita. And this Premier, if the honourable member will note in the bottom left-hand corner, was sourced through Statistics Canada, which shows us, in fact, to be the leader in this country in environmental enhancement and protection. Right on. The material, Mr. Speaker, was compiled by Statistics Canada and takes into account not only the money that was allocated to my department, but the money that has been allocated throughout this government and various departments for the protection and the enhancement of the environment.
So, Mr. Speaker, the minister has to admit that this is misleading information. It's not from his department, Mr. Speaker, and I wish he would tell us then where they got the figures to get up to the 110, over double what was in his department. Tell us precisely what's part of those figures then, Mr. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, do I have to do the to read and to illustrate in pictures for the honourable leader of the opposition? I will show him the pictures. Maybe he can understand it. Or perhaps we can do a videotape.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Final supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, to the minister, he may think he's cute and funny, but the people of Alberta know that they're misleading the government. He can't answer the question, is it not true, Mr. Minister, that part of these figures that put out in the budget have to do with dam building, which most people would consider destroying the environment rather than protecting it, Mr. Speaker?
I would imagine that a lot of the budget, and it will come out in estimate debate, concerns itself with the wise use and protection of our water.
Edmonton Gold Bar. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've seen numerous examples in the House recently of the failure of this government to keep up a consistent policy, or at least consistent rhetoric relative to their policy. And AISH is one of those subjects that we're getting mixed messages on. AISH is one of the programs that the province is very proud of. Handicapped people in our province have used it for some years, Mr. Speaker. Now we hear that while the Premier and the Minister of Family and Social Services have stated publicly that the AISH allocation will be reviewed, the senior advisor to the Minister is saying that the budget increase is in terms of caseloads only and not in terms of an increased allocation to individuals. Mr. Speaker, my first question is to the Minister of Family and Social Services, and I'm going to keep this very, very simple to the Minister. Is AISH going to be increased or not?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's not a problem for the honourable member to keep her questions simple. They usually are. But, Mr. Speaker, as reference to AISH, Mr. Speaker, again, and we've said it before in this Assembly, and the member noted it, that AISH is a program that Albertans are proud of. That AISH is a unique program in Alberta. It's again, Mr. Speaker, and I've said it before in this Assembly.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I'll let you continue in a moment, or maybe 5 minutes when the House settles down. If the House settles down on Friday. Honourable Minister, continue, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was saying, and I've said it before in this Assembly, and I repeat it for the benefit of the member from Gold Bar, that AISH is AISH is a unique program. We as a province are one of 3 provinces in Canada that even have such a program. That Ontario, Mr. Speaker, as I said before, again, offers a little more support on their single AISH recipients, not as much support for their couples as Alberta. British Columbia offers less support than we're offering here in Alberta. Alberta is the only province in Canada that is not both means and asset tested. And finally, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Supplementary, Edmonton Goldbar.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry, I don't think I can make it much simpler, but I believe, Mr. Speaker, that the handicapped people in our province, in fact, everybody in our province, needs to know the answer to the question. We also need to know why it is that the Minister's Senior Policy Advisor is telling us that the budget increase to AISH is only related to the numbers of caseloads, not to individual allocations, while the Minister and the Premier seem to be giving a different message. Mr. Speaker, we're fooling around with people's lives here, and it has to stop.
Mr. Speaker, no, we aren't fooling around with people's lives here. We've offered them support in the past, and we'll continue to offer them support in the future. Mr. Speaker, again, as I was saying on the AISH program, we'll continue to provide the commitment of this government through assured income for the severely handicapped. We'll continue our commitment to social reform here in the province of Alberta. But I want to say again, Mr. Speaker, if for some reason that the member from Edmonton Gold Bar feels that AISH is not meeting the needs of those individuals, there are still further options available to them yet in terms of social allowance for the disabled. Again, Mr. Speaker, a program that offers these individuals all the support that they're going to need to be able to maintain a reasonable standard of living here in the province of Alberta.
In the streets.
Well, Mr. Speaker, perhaps the Minister should consult then with the Premier. Mr. Speaker, my third question is to the Premier. The Premier on a March 12th open line show said that if the shelter portion of AISH becomes out of whack with the conditions, then we'll have to, as a caring government, make sure that we make an adjustment. Now, that's the Premier's statement. The Premier made a commitment on the 12th of March. Certainly the shelter allocation is now out of whack with what we know is happening in shelter circumstances in all of our cities. Mr. Speaker, to the Premier, is this commitment going to come true? Will you undertake to make sure that the AISH allocation for shelter and for other services is in fact increased?
Mr. Speaker, I would be happy to assure my honourable friend that the government will assess all of the components of the AISH payment and make sure that they are always providing the support and the assistance that the Minister outlined.
Red Deer North, followed by Edmonton Jasper Place.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've noticed with interest that the entire national media seems to be enthralled with the Federal Minister of the Environment and his recent excellent initiative of asking all Canadians to give him input on environmental matters. And it's too bad, Mr. Speaker, that our provincial media wasn't as supportive and positive when the Alberta government's Environment Minister became the first Minister of the Environment in Canada to launch an extensive program seeking public input from Albertans some months ago. It might have helped Mr. Bouchard to follow our example sooner than he did. I'd like to ask the Minister, as I noticed the opposition not caring about the opinion of the people of Alberta on environmental matters, I'd like to ask the Minister of the Environment if he can share with this House if this process works, and do people indeed respond to this type of a request for input?
Good question. Mr. Speaker, there's been tremendous response to the mission statement, and it's very interesting to note that the form that was sent out was a single piece of paper and not a multiple choice question and answer kind of thing. And thousands and thousands of Albertans, Mr. Speaker, are taking the time to write down their thoughts, to think about it, to give it reasonable thought, much more than has obviously been given by by members of the opposition, to this very important issue of the environment and how we protect our environment through this decade and into the next future. That information will be compiled. It will be compiled. It will be included in draft legislation. That legislation then will be taken out for public consultation, face-to-face consultation with Albertans, Mr. Speaker. And as the result of that consultation, we will put in place draft legislation that will provide us not only with a new set of strengthened laws, but an agenda that will take us through this decade and well into the next century.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in light of the fact that several thousand Albertans have already provided a written response, they may be reluctant to go through the exercise again, even though it's a good initiative federally. Will the minister then be prepared to, in compiling the report, send to the federal minister an executive summary of the feelings of Albertans so that he'll have a clear understanding of what Albertans want to see happen with the environment?
Certainly, Mr. Speaker, we'll be very happy to share that information with the federal government because the environment, of course, is more than a provincial issue or a national issue. It is, in fact, a global issue, and there are many instances through this process where it has been determined that we have to be, as a province, on the same wavelength as the government and indeed the rest of the world.
Edmonton Jasper, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, the Minister of the Environment went some distance in clearing up the fuzziness and miscommunication over the government's position on the Alberta Pacific Environmental Impact Assessment Review Board report. He said, "We plan to do a study of the chlorinated organics as they affect the fish in the lower reaches of the Athabasca River, and later on we feel it's going to take us at least 2 years to complete that kind of work and get proper, good information." I thank the Minister for that, but a lot of Albertans are wondering about all of the other studies which were recommended by the ALPAC report, those dealing with fish habitat, oxygen on the river, and timber harvesting. Will the Minister clarify the government's position on those studies rather than the simple point of chlorinated organics?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as the Premier so eloquently pointed out yesterday, all reports received by the government are given careful review and careful consideration. And what we are doing relative to the recommendations is that we are giving them a careful review. We're giving them a lot of thought. We have decided that indeed it will be worthwhile to study the effects of chlorinated organics on the fish in the Athabasca River, because we know that this has evolved through the operation of the 2 existing pulp mills that have been around since the early 70s and the late 60s. Mr. Speaker, we have agreed that another recommendation in the ALPAC report is indeed a good recommendation, and we're in the process of implementing that recommendation now, and that is the establishment of a formalized process to conduct environmental impact assessments in the future. It's going to be called the Natural Resources Conservation Board, and if the honorable member for Edmonton Jasper Place will just be patient, we will probably have that legislation in the House in the not too distant future. So indeed, we are taking action immediately on some of the recommendations, and we are reviewing with a great deal of thought, Mr. Speaker, those other recommendations.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let's stop playing around. ALPAC is in Ottawa today attempting to sell their revised proposal on the basis that they've solved the chlorinated organics problem. That's their argument. And this government is trying to focus all of the attention on chlorinated organics. I want the Minister's assurance today that he will not approve another pulp mill for construction until all of the studies on fish habitat, oxygen, and timber harvesting recommended in this report are done. Will he make that assurance today that he won't sign for another pulp mill?
Well, it's not a matter of signing or not signing. It's a matter of looking at a situation when it occurs and doing a proper assessment of the situation. And you know, Mr. Speaker, I find it so very, very strange that they would be giving so much credibility to the ALPAC review panel process, when in fact, if you go back in time, the opposition were saying, well, this is only a public relations exercise. It's pure politics. It's pure public relations. The environmental impact assessment panel is seriously flawed. You know, Mr. Speaker, as Adlai Stevenson once said, if they stop telling lies about us, we'll stop telling the truth about them.
Calgary McKnight. Calgary McKnight.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On March the 2nd, I met with a number of student housing leaders at the University of Alberta, and my question comes from that meeting. In September of 1989, the Minister of Advanced Education established a committee on student housing to review current government policies and future needs. The committee was to report to the government by December 31st, 1989. That report was later extended to March 1990, and has now since been extended to June 1990. The current crisis in student housing is particularly acute in Edmonton, where the vacancy rate generally is only 1.9%. A June reporting date means no funds till March 1991 and no benefit for the September 1991 academic year. Would the minister advise the legislature as to why the report has been delayed?
Well, essentially, Mr. Chairman, because I view it as such an important issue that I want to ensure that I have the views of the 29 institutions throughout the province of Alberta. I think, Mr. Chairman, it should be stated to honourable members that the policy of this government and the Department of Advanced Education, the matter of student residences, are a matter for the institutions. The institutions will collect the rents. They in turn are expected to maintain them and provide those services for the students.
If that is the case, then one wonders why the University of Lethbridge got $18 million. My second question to the minister is, will the minister commit himself to meet with the incoming Students' Union executive at the University of Alberta in the very near future? This is where the crisis exists.
Mr. Speaker, Friday last I met with 35 student association leaders. I've met with 25 institutions, their student associations. I'm always available to meet with the student association leaders. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, it's been my policy since April the 14th that the priority of my job lies with the students, and I'll meet with those students at any time that's convenient to us both.
Calgary-Fish Creek, followed by Vegreville.
Mr. Speaker, we're seeing in Canada a growing national concern over the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and in that national discussion, some are beginning to advocate a so-called carbon tax as one way to reduce the production of carbon dioxide. Given the fact that the Minister of Energy next week will be meeting with his federal and provincial counterparts here in Alberta, I'm wondering if he could share with the Assembly what policy position he'll be taking to that meeting with respect to the so-called carbon tax.
Well, Mr. Speaker, my view is that carbon tax is not necessarily the answer to deal with the matter of carbon dioxide emissions. We in this province, to get myself together with the Minister of Environment, have announced a clean air strategy which will in fact engender a dialogue as to firstly what is the impact of CO2 into the atmosphere on global warming. Is in fact the database that has been presented accurate? We see that the George Marshall Institute has advised the U.S. government that it doesn't appear as though there's any action necessary on global warming. At the same time, we see the former ambassador to the United Nations, Stephen Lewis, saying that there's dire circumstances, dire consequences, and that we must move immediately. In between, there is a range of views on the issue of CO2 and global warming. Our government's view is that education and conservation measures are really the first step that we should take, and if Albertans are willing to buy into the conservation measures and buy into the education process, that we can achieve reduction of fossil fuel emissions unto itself, and that's a good initiative. We have in our department an energy audit, Mr. Speaker, that has conducted over 2,000 audits of buildings in the last decade, and there has been potential savings identified of in excess of $25 million. Those are measures that promote conservation. The last resort would be more taxes, Mr. Speaker. It is not my preference, and certainly not the preference of this government. That's the message that we're going to be taking to our Energy Ministers Conference in Kananaskis on Monday.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I agree wholeheartedly with the Energy Minister's characterization of the tax as a last resort. But given it is still a possible resort, I wonder if he could clarify the question of jurisdiction. When it comes to the so-called carbon tax or that kind of taxation, who's going to call the shot, Ottawa or Alberta?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we have we have a very, I think, serious issue developing with the federal government on jurisdiction on the environment. Our government's view is that if the federal government is well-intentioned and have the best interests of Albertans and Canadians at heart on environmental issues that involve jurisdiction, they're more than welcome. And we have set that precedent with the LPAC hearings. We have set that precedent with Oslo. We have, through the ERCB process for reviewing Oslo, we have grafted on the federal environment officials to participate in environmental assessment. But, Mr. Speaker, if these moves by the federal government or any other jurisdiction are ill-conceived and are designed solely to gather in political capital on the issue of the environment, they must be politically opposed. They must be vigorously opposed. Mr. Speaker, we will not allow for erosion of our jurisdiction on any issue, particularly the environment, and particularly if it is just for purely political reasons. And Mr. Speaker, that's the direction we're taking, and we will continue to take it into the future on resource development.
Bagerville. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservative government's incompetence and their unfortunate habit of making secret deals with taxpayers' money with their friends has seriously undermined the stability in the entire red meat industry in our province. And unfortunately, the government's steadfastly refused our demands to make public the deals between them and Peter Pocklington, something that needs to be done, I suggest, so that we can move forward and try and build a healthy future for this important industry in our province. Now, given, Mr. Speaker, the fact that the Alberta pork producers responded positively to the government's demands that Fletcher's books be made open to the public, will the Premier, in a spirit of Getty glasnost, if you will, follow the good example of the Alberta pork producers and agree to table the master agreement made between his government and Peter Pocklington and any amendments thereto?
Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, there's several responses for the honourable member that I think with a little thought he would have come to the same conclusions. First of all, the matter is being dealt with on the order paper. And secondly, the matter is before court right now.
Well, that has nothing to do with it. We know it.
This is a real double standard, Mr. Speaker, and it's not just hurting whatever's left of the government's political credibility. I think it's hurting the red meat industry. And it's no wonder farmers are concerned with this. But, Mr. Speaker, because Albertans want to know, and I think Albertans deserve to know, what happened to the millions of dollars of taxpayers' money that the Getty gang shoveled into Peter Pocklington's bank accounts, when will the Premier agree to make public the books of gainers so that we can work towards building a viable future for this important company?
Mr. Speaker, now the honourable member has taken both a poor question and added to it a lot of untruths. And I ask him to please take some time, get some help from his researcher, try and get them to write it out for him and get it right. And surely then, with a little thoughtful assistance from his researchers, he may be able to come up with a good question.
Edmonton Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, the Lethbridge Community College Entrepreneurial Center has for several years run a new ventures development program with funding support from the various departments of the government. However, the Department of Economic Development and Trade has unilaterally decided to quit funding this program, which costs only a few $1,000s compared to the millions he's putting into the loan guarantee program. To the Minister of Economic Development and Trade, given that this program at the Lethbridge Community College has spawned 68 new businesses and created over 100 jobs in southern Alberta at very low cost to the taxpayers, why is the government breaking its funding commitment to this program?
Mr. Speaker, here we have another example of the opposition having their facts totally distorted. There was a commitment, but not an ongoing commitment. We originally involved ourselves on the basis that we would only support it for a short period of time. We extended that time period of support, recognizing that they were having difficulties in getting additional private sector capital, and we were very generous in the continuation of that support. We indicated to them as far as a year ago that they could no longer expect us to continue with our support, and suggested to them that they be more active in getting private sector support. It does not come as a surprise to them. If I can also indicate, I guess, the hypocrisy of the honourable member's questions, whereby in one moment he suggests to us we should be doing less The next he's suggesting we should do more. I would hope that the opposition would be consistent in their approach as we are in dealing with this issue, because we made them very much aware of the circumstances, and we are carrying through with our commitment that we had relayed to them some time ago.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the millions of dollars committed to the export loan program, the losses on that program are in the millions of dollars, and this only cost a few thousand. And this, Mr. Speaker, is exactly the kind of program that the government should be supporting. It's locally based. It's getting new young entrepreneurs started. It makes a lot of sense, a lot more sense than giving away money to Japanese pulp companies. My question, this second question then, is to the Minister of Advanced Education. Given that the students enrolled in this program paid their fees on the understanding that the program would run until August of 1990, and given that the government funding is being cut off as of tomorrow, will the minister commit government funding to ensure that these students, instead of being shortchanged, are allowed to complete their program?
In fairness, Mr. Speaker, to those students, the Lethbridge Community College knew, excuse me, over a year ago, because I, as the MLA for Lethbridge West, was involved in encouraging the Minister of Economic Development and Trade to get that extended 1 year, along with the Honourable Member for Calgary Foothills. I think everybody has had adequate notice, Mr. Speaker, and the Lethbridge Community College, as a board-governed institution, in my view, must bear that responsibility.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's only fair that we offer supplementary information for the Honourable Member, because again he's incorrect as it related to the Export Loan Guarantee Program, and he shouldn't rely on the press. Well, then why did he raise it if it was irrelevant? You guys are real hypocrites, are you? You can give it, but you can't take it. It's shameful. But on that program, Mr. Speaker, let me share with them that 215 companies have accessed this to the total of $168 million, generating $500 million worth of sales, which creates in excess of 10,000 jobs within this province. If the honourable member doesn't believe we should support this essential component of our trade, he should be honest enough to admit so.
Edmonton Meadowlark. Point of order. Thank you. Order. Sit down, please, honourable member. Sit down, honourable member. Perhaps the honourable member would like to take a coffee break just for a few moments. Member for Edmonton Meadowlark.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a recent study of the Nader Hills Keg River area underlines the need for proper, open environmental impact assessments into forestry management areas and the agreements which cover them. After 30 years of clear-cut logging, the drainage in this area has been so fundamentally altered that it is going to take upwards of $30 million to repair the problems before reforestation will work. Now we learn that the minister is apparently developing a public, quote-unquote, input process into forestry management agreements, but the people who would comment on them won't be able to see the agreements until they are signed. Of course, that's too late. To the minister, in light of this Nader Hills Keg River study, how can the minister continue to oppose proper, open, public, environmental impact assessments into forestry management agreements?
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to debate the specific area that he's raised with respect to reforestation. It certainly was a problem in that one particular area, and it was done a number of years ago. And there's an awareness level and a recognition of how we approach that in the future. Mr. Speaker, I am going to very soon in the next period of the next couple of weeks announce the public participation process with respect to forest management planning in this province. And as far as an EIA, maybe the honourable member would like to do it like his cousins, Liberal cousins in Ontario. They've had an EIA on forest management planning going on in that province for 11 years. We don't need any 11-year environmental impact studies, and I believe the public of this province will be pleased when they see the overall management planning and the public participation and the opportunity to be fully involved in all aspects of forest management in Alberta.
No answer.
11 years underlines the magnitude of the problem. Since the study was done with government funding, does this now mean that it will be the government of Alberta, rather than the company that was responsible for these problems, that will be funding the land improvement so that reforestation can, in fact, proceed?
Mr. Speaker, in this province, reforestation is a responsibility of the company. They either do it or they pay us and we do it. In areas that have been logged in the past, in some areas, yes, there were problems. It's not only here in Alberta, there has been those problems all across this country. We're working together with the industry to resolve those concerns and resolve those problems. And the illusion that the honourable member raises about the magnitude of the problem and how serious it is typical of the action that they normally take in making a mountain out of a molehill.
Okay, Banff Cochrane, followed by Edmonton Strathcona, then Calgary Buffalo.
Mr. Speaker, worldwide there are literally millions of people who are either killed or maimed as a result of accidents caused through impaired driving. Alberta this week has been hosting an international conference on impaired driving, and I understand that the deliberations have been very positive and have resulted in a redirection to address the problem. In light of the conference and in light of the very serious nature of this problem, my question is to the Solicitor General. Will the Solicitor General agree to this House today to increase the budget allocation in his department to both education and enforcement to try to wipe out this very serious problem of impaired driving?
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to confirm the success of the Congress that is taking place from people all over, with attendees from all over the world. However, this is not a readdressing of the problem. It is, in fact, the end of the 1989-90 program that we have implemented. And with nearly 450 attendees from all over the world, we are indeed learning a great deal more about the problem as it exists as a worldwide social problem. And we are finding that while we may be the toughest in Canada in Alberta, we are not the toughest in the world by any means. And but it certainly does reaffirm our direction on this, reaffirm our commitment to attempt to clean up our highways from the scourge of drunken drivers, referred to in the state of Oregon as scuzzballs and desperados, not terms we use here, but that is the state of affairs in the state of Oregon. And I want to assure the member in this House and all of Alberta that we are determined to get the attention of the people that are drinking and driving at the same time, and we will do so. And once having done so, we will work on changing their attitudes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm convinced, Mr. Speaker, that one of the best ways to decrease this problem and to address the problem is to increase the penalties by way of suspension of driver's licenses for those convicted of offenses that involve impaired driving. And I would ask the minister today if he will undertake to this House to increase the suspensions for those who are convicted of drinking and driving offenses.
Mr. Speaker, Alberta already has the toughest suspensions in Canada, working administratively through the Motor Vehicle Administration Act, insofar as the penalties of fines or incarceration are concerned. That is a strict prerogative under the Criminal Code of Canada, left with our courts. However, there are certain other things that we will be looking at that have come out as a result of the Congress that is taking place or closing today. And as I've indicated in the past to the House and people of Alberta, it's not my intention to do anything brand new in this year. However, we are developing plans for the third year of the program, which will serve, I assure you, to catch the attention of the Albertans that still persist in this behavior.
Edmonton Strathcona.
My question is to the Attorney General or the Solicitor General. Concerns two key recommendations of the Weir report on the Gingras affair that have not, it seems, been accepted by the federal government. The first of them is that it was recommended that the community parole officer have a veto over the temporary absences of prisoners from the penitentiary. The second was that no warden of a penitentiary in future be appointed who did not have previous service in the penitentiary system. Both of these recommendations have strong public safety implications for the public of Alberta. My question, therefore, to, I guess, the Attorney General will he be prepared to tell Mr. Blais, the federal minister responsible, that the non-acceptance of these recommendations threaten the safety, indeed the lives of Albertans?
Mr. Speaker, it's true. I think the Weir report had approximately 17 recommendations, and I know there's 4 or 5 that the federal officials have indicated they are not accepting as recommended. There may be some variations, 2 of which the honourable member has pointed out. I will certainly undertake dialogue with the new Solicitor General, the Honourable Pierre Cadieux. Mr. Blais was previously in that portfolio, to see if there can be changes, because there are problems. In fact, after reviewing the Weir report, the expurgated and unexpurgated edition, you do find out that in many instances the inmates are running the institution rather than the officials, and that does result in some potential for dangers.
Yes, I wonder if the Attorney General can tell us what excuses the federal government had in being so slow in coming up with the papers referred to in the Weir report that were necessary for his examination of the provincial implications of the astonishing revelations made in his report regarding the public safety of Albertans.
Mr. Speaker, the Solicitor General federally was not the delay. The Solicitor General did, in fact, agree with the province that we did need all documentation to enable a thorough investigation to see if there were criminal implications to the happenings and that would emanate from the events. There has been, admittedly, some bureaucratic delay, but our department now does have all documents, and I would expect in the very short next week or so we will have the final determination on the investigations.
Calgary Buffalo.
I have a question for the Solicitor General with respect to the RCMP high-speed chase issue, the SIM inquiry. Now, from the beginning, the minister has bobbed and weaved, he's pussyfooted, he's waffled to the point where he's begun to look like the cartoon Roadrunner going beep beep, running in the opposite direction every time the issue is raised. And when I asked the Solicitor General to set in motion a provincial review of RCMP chase policies, which have resulted in 21 deaths in Alberta in the past 3 years, he said he wanted to hear from the SIM fatality inquiry. Now, Judge Oliver has told us that RCMP policies do need to be improved and that a comprehensive review is needed. Now, given that a national review, while desirable, is probably not attainable, I'm wondering whether the minister will recognize that he should stop running from this issue and set up a provincial task force in the interests of public safety on our highways.
Thank you. Not to make light of the question, I just wish that I had the physical condition of the Roadrunner. But I too received the report, Mr. Speaker, late yesterday afternoon, and have in fact reviewed it, but have not had an opportunity to discuss it with the Attorney General. And we are concerned about the recommendations in the report, but we've also been concerned about the chases that have occurred. And it seems to us that there is always questions directed or recommendations made to what the police should be doing, but we are as interested or more interested in how we can stop the chases in the first place by catching the attention of those that are running away. Notwithstanding that, Mr. Speaker, prior to the report coming out, I commenced setting up a task force in Alberta which involved the police commissions, the police forces, and also the community. The report may change the direction on that, but I have to reconsider it in light of the report.
Right, we have unanimous consent to complete this series of questions. Opposed? Carried. Calgary Buffalo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have seen an example of the RCMP cooperating in a provincial task force with respect to prison issues in this province, and I'm wondering whether the minister has even broached with the RCMP the issue of whether or not they would cooperate in a provincial task force, not necessarily a public inquiry, but a provincial task force just to review this issue in this province. And if he hasn't asked the RCMP about that, would he do so immediately and report to this House?
It's not necessary for me to come back to a report, Mr. Speaker. I've discussed this in considerable detail within the last 30 days with the Assistant Commissioner Gordon Craig of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and he was more than willing to cooperate with the suggestion of a task force on the provision that we look at all police chase pursuit policies in the province of Alberta, and that is of course the intent. I would like to go on to say that this is not unrelated, Mr. Speaker, to the previous answer that I gave in respect to drinking and driving, because it is well known, it is an established fact that over half the chases result as a result of drinking and driving again. Not so in the Sims case, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Before we deal with points of order and so forth, I wonder if the House might give unanimous consent to revert to the introduction of special guests. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure today to make a couple of introductions. We have with us today grade 6 and grade 8 class from the Daysland School. They are seated in the members and the public gallery. They're escorted today by teachers Eliza Kolar and Milt Openshaw, and with parents Mrs. Stefanishin, Mrs. Curtis, Dr. McKinnon, and Mr. and Mrs. Schreiber. I would ask that they stand and that the Assembly give them the welcome usually accorded to special visitors. On behalf of the Honorable Elaine McCoy, I would like to also extend a welcome to a grade 5 class, 28 members of, from the St. Thomas Aquinas School located in the Calgary West constituency. They are seated in the members gallery. They're escorted by teachers Lindy Arndt and Tony Marasco, and with parents Sandy Murnaugh, Ginger Hamill, Elaine Johnson, and Myra Balicki. I would ask that they rise and also receive the usual welcome accorded to special guests.
Edmonton Center.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to introduce 16 students from the Alberta Vocational Centre's Business Careers Department. They're with us today in the public gallery with their teacher, Mrs. Barbara Nimchuk. I'd ask that they please rise and receive the welcome from the Assembly.
Additional? Leader of the Opposition, point of order out of question period.
Under oral questions, I believe Bull Shane 407, Mr. Speaker. I won't spend a great deal of time on this matter. It's just when there is supplemental information from a minister, it should at least apply to the question, Mr. Speaker. And the question that I'm talking about had to do with the Lethbridge Community Entrepreneur Program, Mr. Speaker, and we got into another government program. Now, I know the minister was thin-skinned and wanted another shot back at question period, but it seems to me in this case it was inappropriate. I know it's difficult to police all of this, but in the future, if it is supplemental information, I hope it is on the question, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you. Additional? Thank you. Orders of the day.
Government motions. Motion number 11, Honorable Mr. Horsman.
Mr. Speaker, I move motion 11, standing my name.
This is being agreed to.